the aerogels and some of the other stuff that's been coming along and moving along, and it's finding more and more traction. And we're trying to think of some of the others, but I mean, it's your chips are all basically getting refined smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's more on the they've gotten away from the chemical mechanical polishing, and they're doing other stuff now. But you just it's just one of those things. You just kind of keep rolling with what you got until something else happens, and that's where it pays with the large companies, where you can have a large R&D force and you can start playing around, and you have you build relationships with the universities. That's another thing to look for in a company, that if they have a lot of relationships with the various universities where the silane specialties and metallocene are big, that's a key to knowing where their ideas are coming from and where they're going to go. So that's one of the things when I worked for Petrarch, Dynamite Nobel, Hools. I mean, that's our VP, who was one of the former owners, and head R&D. They always did a lot of stuff with the silicon symposiums, and they were always making sure that their favorite silane guys were getting what they needed to keep working. But if you don't don't necessarily have to have that, but it helps.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you get free advertising when they write their papers and they present. And this was provided by Petrarch. This was provided by Gillette.
How small is that world? Is it 5 universities that are playing with silanes? Is it 50?
Oh, there's probably 100, 200, 300.
Okay.
It all depends, because a lot of these guys, they get their PhD or their postdoc under, your Bob Wests of the world, and then they go to different schools and they start their own.
Sure.
And they kind of spreads that way.
It's the academic pedigree, right? I have the same issue, right? I can go back and look at where all the guys that came out of my lab went, and they populate all over the place. So.
Yeah. It was kind of interesting, is I've only worked in 3 facilities in my 30-year career, but I've worked for about 9 different companies.
Just keep changing the name on the door, huh?
I told them, I said, you just might as well tattoo a barcode on my back, so call me a fixed asset and sell me.
Only if you get a portion of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been high up enough to get much of a portion, but they always seem to want to keep me.
Well, I think the one thing that I do take away, and I appreciate, is operational expertise is rarer and more valuable here. And it's because it's an art. It's also because you have to be able to figure out how to translate between sort of lab and pilot scale, and that's not trivial in a lot of these cases.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing to do, because it's completely different mechanical operations. I mean, it's the physics of it, where you're in a lab, you have a electric heating mantle wrapped around a flask. Now you're in a jacketed vessel, or they got coils, or it's completely different.
Yeah.
And it's being able to translate that and step it up. I mean, you don't go from 5 liters to 10,000 gallons. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
People try it, and it
of course
usually isn't that successful.
Well, people will try a lot of things they shouldn't try, but they'll try them.
Yeah, and you read about it in the papers.
That's right. So we talked about product development. We talked about selection. We've talked about what matters. We've talked about sort of trends in the industry, sort of relative markets in silane. I think I've actually probably hit the big pieces that are important to me. But like I say, this has been very valuable. I appreciate your perspective, and particularly helps me think about some of the other, maybe more, I would say, back office issues that are important but often get sort of glossed over when people get excited about talking about markets. So I appreciate grounding me. So thanks for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
So
glad to be of service.
Great. Hey, thanks. Have a great day. Appreciate your time.
All right. And you have a good evening, and enjoyed talking with you. You take care.
Oh, I enjoyed it too. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.